Alright, you walk through the city gates. The whole city is in ruins. This isn't how they explained the city was going to look like. You're meant to find peace here. You're meant to find tranquility. But there is something here that should not be here. What would you like to do?
Can I try and sneak around so nobody can see me? Nope, natural one.
Unlucky. Not only do you fail to sneak, but your armor seems to make a little bit of noise. It starts ricocheting and echoing off all the buildings. Roll for initiative.
Oh god. Well, I've got my net one out of the way. It's all uphill from here. Nope. Nope. Another net one.
Wow. Well, I guess the dragon's going first.
And he is going to use his tail on you. But he misses. Lucky. Okay, little bit suspicious about why you haven't multi-attacked me or anything. But yeah, I'm gonna swing and I'm gonna attack. Quitting Dungeons and Dragons. Kia ora YouTube family, Bogan Plays Cards, Scotty Hardwick here, and this video is dedicated to all of you Natural 1 rollers out there. Today, we're going to be making a dice jail. Enjoy! Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button below, leave a comment if you like it. Got a Facebook page, everything is in the comments below. So have a look, check that out, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Cheers guys, have a good one. That Bogan plays cards! Alright, so, a bit of core foam there. I cut out some squares, 2 bigger squares, 2 smaller squares. Doesn't really matter what the size is, but these dimensions are 5 by 5 and 6 by 6. I then grabbed a knife and I grabbed the squares and I started texturing some stone texture onto it so that they look like they are made of brick. There's no right or wrong. I just grabbed a ruler and I got the initial lines up, and then I just randomized where the bricks go across. And I did that with all of them except for one. Now, one of them in particular is going to be the bed of the jail. So, instead of doing all brick, I had one idea of making a solid plate and then just bricks around the sides. Then of course I grabbed a pencil and I widened all the lines. Remember, it's okay to get pencil on the foam because at the end of the day we are painting it. But it just makes a really good way of widening all the lines and making them look more realistic. And we're done. Right, then the idea is to put the 2 different sized squares on top of each other. Make sure you've peeled all of the paper off the core foam. Grab the hot glue gun, heat it up, and get it all together. So this is where I actually realized that I needed to texture one extra side, because otherwise it was going to look untextured on both the top and the bottom. Now, it's perfectly fine to not texture the bottom because it's going to be sitting on a surface. I can't see any problem with that. However, if I'm going to look at a dice jail and it's not textured on the top, then that's going to really bug me. So I did that. But of course I only had to do the bits around the edges because of course I'm sticking the other smaller sheet of core foam on top. Now as you can see, a tiny little square chipped off it, and I just left it because honestly it's going to look more authentic if it's starting to crumble a little bit. Sweet, on with the coffee stirrers. Now these coffee stirrers are going to be at the bars of our jail. So I basically just cut them into sizable, even sticks of roughly 6 centimeters. Then just cut them all out and got ready to glue them in with the hot glue. This is where it starts looking probably the funniest, because I know what I can see in my head and I know what I'm expecting it to look like, but without any paint, it really just looks like core foam and coffee stirrers. However, it does turn out really good, so please trust me on this and stick around. There is a method to my madness. So I stuck them all on, but I didn't put the top on. I didn't stick the top on because I figured I needed to paint it all first. And of course, once it is all stuck on, there is no way that would be easy to paint the inside of this jail. But it is coming along. And then I grabbed some Mod Podge, I grabbed some black paint, you know, the usual concoction. I poured a little bit onto a piece of paper, poured some black paint, mixed it around, always mixing too much, had far too much left over, ended up using it on another project off the camera too, but there you go. It's just something that I always do. I can never seem to pour just the right amount, but I covered the whole thing in Mod Podge and black paint, including the coffee stirrers. Just make sure it's all on there, and then it's just going to give you that membrane that's going to protect it, so it's going to last a little bit longer too. And let it dry. And then I realized I put the top of the jail on another piece of paper that ended up sticking to it. After a couple of choice and well-chosen words, I thought it's okay. Grabbed a knife and carefully scraped it off. And to be honest, it did a really good job after I repainted it of texturing the top of the jail. So everything happens for a reason. Right, grabbed some grey paint and did a thick dry brush around the whole thing to give it more of a lighter tone, because obviously it can't stay black the whole time. And you have seen a technique like this through many of my videos, where you just start with a dark paint and then you move lighter and lighter and lighter. It's a really good way of bringing out a lot of the detail right at the end. And now it's time to stick the top on. So you basically just jimmy the coffee stirrers away and so that the lid finally, eventually, looks on. Remember, this is without glue, so then I just grabbed some PVA glue and I tipped it upside down and just poured the PVA glue along the edges of what is essentially the top of the jail and let that dry. That's not going anywhere anymore. I then grabbed some more grey paint and I painted in some randomly chosen bricks. So the goal with that is to make it look a little bit less uniform. So the jail is a little bit old. So there's a whole bunch of different squares that are slightly a different colour than the others. I went through the top, chose a couple, about 4 or 5 of those, and then I also did it along the bottom with the little bricks that I'd carved in there too. Alright, moving on to the bars. So I grabbed some Lead Belcher Citadel paint and I just heaped it onto the bars. Now, does look very, very shiny and bright for now, but naturally we're going to put other dry brushes in different colours and even a shade and a wash over this, so it does dull significantly after the final product. But there you go, it's starting to look like bars now. Now I'll take this time to ask you what you thought of the little skit at the beginning of this video. I tend to like to try and mix things up a little bit to keep you interested in watching. I'd be really interested to know what you think in the comments. Sweet, so before we do any of the highlighting, it's always good to do your wash first. This is an Earthshade Citadel paints, and I covered the whole thing in the Earthshade, and that Earthshade's great. If you're going to buy one shade and one shade only, it's always a good contender to buy the Earthshade. It just gives you that real dirty, grimy look, and it's coming along really nicely. Right, then I grabbed some Rust Monster, which is an Army Painter paint, and I grabbed in fact the only white that I had left from Citadel. I can't even remember what it was called, but it's in the video, so have a little look if you need to pause it. And I dry brushed the top, the bottom, and all of the stone in white, and that came up, that brought out all of the textures and colours, which is really awesome. Have a look at that top now. I'm so happy that I accidentally stuck the top to another bit of paint and then had to peel it off again. It's coming along really cool. And then for the bars, I dry brushed a bit of Rust Monster onto it to make sure that it looks a little bit rusty. Comes out really fluoro, but if you've seen some of my other videos that I've used Rust Monster on, it really dulls down once it's dry. And you're only putting a little bit on, you're not heaping it on, which is very important. If you heaped it on, it'll probably look like a high-vis gel, and we don't need that. And it's starting to look like a jail. So one of the most important things about having a dice jail is you need to be able to put your dice in there. Now before you comment and say, oh, he's probably forgotten the entrance, I had not. I'd always intended to put it through the top, and I figured that it would be easier to paint it all up and get it all ready to go, and then cut it out, because that way all of the paint seems like it is uniform. So it does look like it came from that same block. So it was intentional, but I definitely also see how it could look like I may have potentially forgotten to put an entrance into my dice jail. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. Now you have to be very careful when you're cutting this out, because if you rip the foam, then it's all over, really. So it was quite a nerve-wracking procedure. However, it did not rip any of the core foam, and it came out really nicely, and I'm really happy and thankful about that. Then I just grabbed some more PVA and some more black paint, and I just painted all of the white bits of the foam so that it would seal it in. Not really any point painting the rest of the shades that we did with all the other bits, because no one's really going to see it. Once the dice is in there, the top will go back on, and it's not going to be noticeable. It's just to make sure that it stands the test of time. The goal for the top of this jail, of course, was to look like or present itself as a bit of a trap door. So after I finished painting all the bits of core foam that you could notice or see, I grabbed some more coffee stirrers and I cut them up so that there would be like a wooden trap door. I then grabbed some more PVA glue and I proceeded to stick them onto this little square of the core foam. Alright, on with the flocking. So I just grabbed some of my wonderful box of magic things, and I have some dried leaf flock that I actually got from, I bought some dead vines, and the dead vines had some dry leaves attached to them, and I kind of just shredded a bunch of them because I really wanted the vines without the leaves. You would have seen them on my haunted well. So I've collected all the bits that fell off, and I've just sort of been collecting them, and I used them to make like a bed, kind of like a prison cell bed of leaves, with it, if someone was in there, they sort of grabbed all of the leaves and the stuff that they could to try and make it a little bit more of a comfier stay in this jail. Then I grabbed the last of my bushels from Woodland Senates, which is really unfortunate since we're still in lockdown, and I stuck them on, and that really made the bottom part. I'm really happy with the bottom part. So looking back at the trapdoor, I grabbed some green, military green shade from Army Painter, and I just went all crazy on the top to make it look like it was starting to get mossy and it had aged, and it was going to help it blend in. Then I grabbed some little bit of the leftover bushels that I had and just sprinkled it all to try and make it look like someone's tried to put some grass over the top to blend it in so no one would find it or no one would see it. I then did the same thing with the top of the jail, and voila. Really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks absolutely awesome. I'm really looking forward to putting all of my naughty natural one rolling dice in there and putting the lid on so that they can't escape and ruin my gaming experiences. But there you go. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I had an absolute ball making it. I'm honestly so ecstatic with how it came out. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
That Bogan plays cards!